Hello there, Skahan here. How's it going, guys? It's been forever. I know, right? Today, I'm bringing you an Arma 3 classroom of something that I have particularly went through and tried to find, but absolutely haven't found anything, or at least not very much on the topic, and that's how to build an Arma 3 unit. In this video, I'm going to go over what I went through. I just went through this. Um, Created my own unit, me and Goat, and we had split off from another unit. Decided to take it into our own hands and move forward. Um, Shout out to Santos and Bonnell, two key players that actually helped us come up and get it going as well. These guys have stuck with it, and it's pretty good. Um, so let's just jump right into it. Um, so what's the start of a unit? How do you start? Like what? Why come up with this video? Well, I mean, aside from what I've come to see on the internet, whenever I looked it up, because I was like, well, what all do I need to have? What is everything that I need to have for a unit? You know. I've been in Eve corporations and making communities and things like that, and management of a community, but I never really started an Arma 3 unit right off the speed. So it was kind of like, "Ugh," you know. So I Googled and tried to do some research, like everything anybody should do. I couldn't find anything. There was nothing like, what do you need? What do you need to look at? What do you need to do? So I kind of just flew it off the hip. And everybody I always talk to, they're like, you need three things. You need a TeamSpeak, you need mods in the game, and you need a server. And I was like, if that's it, why doesn't everybody do it? Um, there had to be more. And, in this, I'm not going to say any names of any other units that I was previously in. I'm going to reference a lot of the unit that we have created here. In no way is this a recruiting video. This is pretty much just how I went about doing it, and just putting it out there just in case somebody else out there, hey, what do I need to think of? Or maybe you're thinking of stuff, but you're missing a couple things. So, without further ado, I'm just going to kind of go off the top of my head of really what I did. And the first thing we did was what we figured out what branch and what nationality we wanted to be. Being American U.S. Army, really that's where we were heading. And Goat is currently rose his hand to the job, and he's off doing that. So that's why he's not with us right at this moment. Um, but expect to have him back soon. Um, so we were like, all right, well, we want to be U.S. military. You know, Pretty much narrows it down to two major branches. Obviously, the Navy, you're not going to be doing it as much on ground. Air Force, same. So we were like, well, we could do those, but we could be a supporting role. But we're really, me and Goat, if you see in our videos, we're pretty much down and dirty with it. We like to get into pretty good gunfights, and everything like that. So really, it was natural. It was coming down to the Army. Because Marines, we had just been in a Marine unit, and it wasn't terrible. It was just it had been there for a while, and it had changed hands so many times, and had so many kind of power trip problems. And it's no individual problem. It was pretty much just a hand-me-down unit from generation to generation that ended up fizzling to a I want to say a volcanic estate where it was basically getting ready to explode. Um, so definitely there was the Marine idea, but Army was really where we were at because we really wanted to use RHS. We had been experienced with it, and RHS is heavy on Russian and heavy on U.S. Army. It does have Marines and stuff in it as well. So that really gave us a lot of leeway. So really knowing what nationality you're wanting to be and what branch of the service you're wanting to be. And then really we came down to what unit composition do we want to be? You know, there's hundreds and hundreds of combinations out there. You know, you could have like 75th Rangers or 82nd Airborne or 101st Air Assault, cab, cavalry, you know, armor, mechanized infantry, light mechanized infantry, heavy motorized armor, or you know anything in between or something like that. Um, and I'll go into detail what those are. We are a 3rd Battalion 501st Infantry Brigade Combat Team, 1st ID. And the first thing that anybody always asks me is, do you have a Star Wars reference, or do you have a Star Wars problem? And I absolutely said, you know, at first I was like, what are you talking about? What does this have to do? Well, 501st something or another. And I was like, no. I'm like, how we made the name of our unit is 3rd Battalion because we always seen 1st and 2nd Battalion everywhere. 501st Infantry Brigade Combat Team. Well, I was in an Infantry Brigade Combat Team, but the number was from South Korea, one of my old battalion or brigades, and it was kind of one of those. Well, cool. I always liked 501st. And 1st ID, well, I was in an Infantry Brigade Combat Team in the 1st ID, so I was like, why not? Let's just be infantry. And we could be heavy mechanized infantry because everybody loves Bradley. Um, you know, so that's kind of where our name came from, and that kind of incorporated, well, infantry division, let's go ahead and be heavy mechanized. Let's have the best of both worlds. Um, and of course, Infantry Brigade Combat Team, we had aviation attached, and we had armor. And then we decided, well, let's just incorporate our SF team that we brought from our previous unit. Basically, when we separated, we took all the name and everything, and we're like, we'll just have this team. And I'll get to the SF later in the video because that's one you really need to take a look at and be heed caution whenever you do that. Be cautious around that because that's a stick of dynamite waiting to explode. So I mean, you know, what do you want to do? And the previous unit, they ended up, whenever we left, they eventually switched to Army, and you know, we were talking and they were like, well, we want to be heavy mechanized and all this stuff, or we want to be different, but most people want to be heavy mechanized because they want the Bradley. I was like, well, if you want to be different, be a striker. I'm like, you don't see many striker units out there, so definitely look at something different. Try to offer something a little bit different. Mechanized is probably the easiest to do because you get all the tracked vehicles. Um, you know, but you can it's really up to you. Do you want to be airborne? Do you want to be air assault? Do you want to be, you know, motorized vehicles or mechanized, or do you want to be armor? You know, what heavy, light, and intermediate in between. So you really got to look at that as well, and choose. And I can't be the one to tell you what you want. You know, light infantry, you're pretty much going to be fast and hit a punch, but you can't really sustain a lot. Heavy infantry, you're going to be more setting in heavier vehicles, maybe sustain a little bit. You have a little bit more meat to the grind type of events, especially in Arma 3, because light, there's only so much stuff you can do. And kind of getting off that, once you've pretty much found the nationality, the branch, your name, and what your components, like what you want, it's time for structure. Um, and I recommend using any kind of Excel. If you're one of those that's like, hey, I don't have Microsoft Office. If you have a YouTube account or a Gmail, you have Google Drive. On Google Drive, you can make documents and save them. And that's the easiest way to do it. Like how I do it is I have my own Excel that is encrypted, and I do that. Well, I say encrypted. Basically, it's not on the internet, and I just copy paste all the information from there to the drive. That way, it's broadcast for pretty much anybody to see. Um, you know, the reason I do that is because it's easier for me to work with an older version of Excel that I know, and then I can just transfer the data from one to the other. It's just literally copy paste, and it transfers it relatively nice. But an Excel worksheet works perfect. Um, the main ones you're going to need is I recommend having a structure, unit structure, down to company structure, platoon structure, squad structure, team structure, and then have a master roster. Um, and you can be just straight infantry where you don't have aviation assets. That's completely fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people are going to be looking for aviation as well. So pretty much you're going to have to choose if that's what you want. Our particular setup, we have 4 units underneath of the 501st umbrella. Um, those are Alpha Company Infantry, Bravo Company Armor, 1st CAB Combat Aviation Brigade, which is a full spectrum rotary wing with an added A-10. Now I want to touch on this before I get on the SF. Because pretty much we're talking about the units and what it's made up. Infantry's heavy mechanized, basically we drive whatever we want at the time. Armor is currently closed because armor is a very touchy subject. Tanks can be very overpowered. Artillery can be very plain and very, well, we gotta wait for them. The Combat Aviation Brigade, this is really where it also ties into what your name is. A lot of units out there make the giant mistake of going, well, we're completely Army, we have 5 companies, all of us are Army, but we're a task force teddy bear or something. And it's like, why are you a task force? Because task force implies multiple branches working under one cohesive command structure. So it's kind of like, or different nationalities. So that kind of like throws a lot of people off that I've noticed. People I've talked to that have came to our unit from other units, they're like, why, this person's doing this person's doing that. Why are they doing that? And I'm like, well, so it does throw a lot of people off because they're like, oh, well, you're a multi-branch, multinational role, and then you end up not being. So it's just easier just being straight up, whatever. If you're all Army, just make your whatever. And aviation's really that touchy subject because you really need a fixed wing aircraft. You don't have to have it, but Apaches are very overpowered if you're if you're Army. So what we've done is we made Little Birds our main attacks and CAS for rotary wing. We do have Apache capabilities as well, but the Little Birds do what we need them, and they're weak, but they're limited. They're fast, and they can do what we need them right whenever we need them. And that's the A-10. The A-10, I know everyone's going to be sitting here going, well, that's Air Force. Well, there was an offer not too long ago, a couple months ago actually, that the Air Force wanted to give the A-10 to the Army. What we did is just change that because we are a fictional unit. In no way is there a 501st Infantry Brigade combat team, to my knowledge. I mean, as long as I know, as long as I've been out of the military, I believe it's been the same. And as 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th brigades have basically been wiped off because they're downsizing. So there's that. I could be wrong. Don't take this as a grain of salt. I've been in the game for a while, but our unit's completely fictional. And don't ever, if you're gonna mimic a unit, a real unit, there's a lot of in-depth problems that come with that, and I'll touch on that at the end of the video as well. But multiple branches also offer a whole mess of problems. Not only do you have to have the rank structures for theirs, but yours too. So what we did was just, hey, we're going to make this easy. And all we offer is A-10 slot. We only have 2 A-10 slots available, and that's it. Once those are filled, we don't offer it anymore. Period. And that really cuts it down. So you have to watch the aviation unit. Now here is the tricky one that a lot of people actually, it broke my heart in my last unit whenever we left and we made this one, because in my last unit, basically me and Goat were the start of that SF unit, and that's really what began my career in SF. I had done, infantry, marksman, forward observer, armor, aviation for most of my time in ARMA. I think one of the highest ranks I ever held was a sergeant, and I was a squad leader. Um, so, I mean, I didn't really, in my units that I was with prior, I wasn't that high up in the totem pole. And I definitely wasn't SF per se. We didn't have SF. It was more of like we're just special troops that are there. Kind of like QRF. It's basically what we were. So this, my last unit that I was in, was really the first time I was an SF team leader, and I loved it. I loved it. Whenever we split, um, I basically handed over my rights to the XO at the time. Me and Goat set our separate ways. Santos Bonnell, they came with us as well. And basically they said, we're shutting it down, we're shutting armor down, and then we're folding everybody up underneath the infantry. And it crushed me. I was like, oh man, I was like, you don't ever like seeing something you've built and you've put so much time and effort in just fall apart. But I understand because there's babies out there. There's children out there. There's, I guess I want to say, ignorant people out there that literally go, oh well, I'm infantry and they're special forces and they have special in front of their name and I want to be special too. And they come up with they're just whiners. And being a leader, whenever I encountered that, I was like, look, we don't do anything else than you, except we jump out of airplanes and we can be anywhere at any time. We're adaptable. We're really adaptable. All I need is 4 guys out of the 8. That's it. Um, and I was like, a bunch of whiners is all it ended up being. Um, and the more that they complained, the more problems it came, and it's a big mess whenever it comes to SF. So having SF is really up to you. Um, we have it, but it's not, but we have it limited. Like, we have checks and balances that make it limited. Um, and SF can be good for your unit. Now, you can be like some units and just completely go, oh, we're going to be completely special operations. We're going to have a SF Green Beret team, a Navy SEAL team, an Air Force potty training team, I'm just messing with you, PJ team, or commandos, and you can have Marine Force Recon. You can have those. There's units out there that is all SF, and you can feel special all you want. Um, in my particular unit, the SF is probably the hardest worked and has the most burden. We're pretty much the jack of all trades. We're drill instructors, we're platoon sergeants, we're company commanders, we're medics on the field, communications, we're all the instructors, we're the MPs, we're the admins. Basically, we cover every role. Um, Whenever we actually break off and do what we need to do, it is centered around the infantry. Our aviation is centered around the infantry. Armor is centered around the infantry. I mean, everything is around Alpha Company. And I made that so whenever people come in, oh, well, you have an SF team. I've had that comment before. Oh, well, you have special forces. This is going to, I've been in units with this. And I'm like, I don't care what unit you came from. You come here, you leave your stuff at the door from the other one. You bring your other unit stuff here. Bring only the good stuff that you think is going to help. Leave all the bad stuff at the door because you don't want to hear about it. I'm kind of an ass anyway, so I don't really care. But the way our SF team is set up, and it takes finesse doing it, and it's a bunch of trial and error, but it can work, is, most of them are instructors. They can go do BCT, AIT, they can train people who have played for multiple hours and guys who have just bought the game. Um, so that can be it. That can be a good thing for you. Um, and it's just really making a unit. You kind of have to have a choice. You have to stand by the choices you made. You have to be flexible, but you also have to be firm on what you do. And that's one thing that me and Goat and Bonnell and Santos really stopped and looked at was, okay, what can we do to concrete? What do we need to concrete in, and what is stuff that we can be flexible? Unit rules and policies are pretty much concrete. Definitely look at them, check them over again. The structure, everything like that, and ranking systems. I was a lieutenant in the previous unit. I came here, made our own unit. I promoted myself to captain, and they're like, first comment I heard was, "Oh, you're got a promotion, did you?" And I said, "Well, it's a slot based. What I did is basically, if I have a point system with a slot lock to a rank. So let's say you would come to the unit and you get 5 points. At 5 points, you're qualified such as an E5 sergeant. But our point system, that's just promotable too. That doesn't mean you're promoted. Um, if there's a squad leader position open and you're the highest ranking, seniority base, you've done everything good, you have a clean record, we can put you in that slot. And the reason this is I had further experience of sergeants not doing a damn thing. Basically, oh, my buddy's the sergeant, or my buddy's the captain, I'm the sergeant, and I'm not going to do shit. Well, if you're not going to do your job, I'm going to put you as a private, and you can sit down there and think about what you've done, why somebody else is wanting that job. I have people that need to be rewarded, that deserve to be rewarded, and in my unit, I make that competitive. You don't do your job, fine, I will find someone who will, um, and who likes to do it. So basically, you might have the points to be a lieutenant, but you might be a private because you don't fulfill that requirement. If you're a rifleman position, the highest you can get is a specialist, which is an E4. Team leaders are corporals. Sergeants are squad leaders. Staff sergeants, sergeant first classes are platoon sergeants. Master sergeants or specific sergeants are normally in the S shops, like excess, and then we have the first sergeant, which is company commander, and then first lieutenant is XO, second lieutenant is platoon leader, and then of course we have company's cap is a captain. So I mean, we have it locked to a specific way to do it, and it's worked. And you're gonna get this question, guys, as well. Whenever you get other units in, is you're gonna have units that maybe you know the people, but in the same sense, these guys come over and they're like, oh well, like ours. Everyone starts out at private. I had a major come over that was in this unit come over to our unit, and he's a private. He's now a corporal. He's done great. And then I had a lieutenant from the same unit come over and was like, well, none of my stuff carries over. I've done all this work and stuff like that. And it's like, if I wouldn't promote, if I wouldn't retain a major's position and he dropped down, what makes you think I'm gonna, what kind of, we might be bros and stuff, but it's not like that. Everybody starts out at the bottom. You started at the bottom, work up. So definitely stay firm in your rules, but definitely be open to the fact of taking criticism, taking ideas. Definitely don't fall for the tricks. Hey, because I got them. Whenever we put our stuff up on Steam, we got it. Hey, come and join us, absorb into us. We're basically the same unit, or we're new, you're new, you look like you guys are organized, come with us. It's like, why am I going to put all this time and effort into making something just to just say, fuck it, go with them? Ain't happening. So, I mean, just stay away from that temptation. Just say, nah, thanks for the offer. Be kind, courteous, nice to the offer, boom, but I'm going to stick with this and see how it works out. Likewise, you need to listen to your people. The reputation is everything, and the leader's reputation. Number one, if you're a shitty leader, if you're a company commander or unit commander, and like you are losing people, there is either a problem A with your unit, B with the unit structure or policies, C with the command structure, or D with you. And if you're a commander and you go, well, everything's going great, and whenever I got in command, it pretty much went to hell, um, it's you. So maybe this is a good time for you to take a self-check, a gut check, and say, well, maybe I don't need to be in this position, or maybe I need to go find somebody who is a better leader than me. Um, you can't be too nice. You can't be too much of an ass. You got to be kind of got that rich in the middle, and you definitely got to be able to stand up to anybody. You know, um, Santos is my first sergeant, and he'll make a comment, and I'll just be like, "That's retarded. What the hell are you talking about?" You know, um, nothing against him or anything else. It's just like, dude, that ain't gonna work, and I poke holes in it. But in the same sense, if it's a pretty good idea or if it's intermediate, I'm like, well, these are the good things I like out of this plan, and these are the bad things. How can we make this work? You got to be flexible, and definitely don't let rank get to you. If anybody thinks that captain gets to my head, they're completely out of their mind. I could give a flying rat's ass less. I've been underneath of privates and PFCs in our unit that's their rank, and I've been a rifleman underneath of them, and it's just like, dude, I'm here to play the game. The ranking stuff, that's what I can give virtually to somebody. In real life, you don't. I had to have a sit down with some of the guys, and I was like, look, if you don't have a military background, you don't hold a rank in real life. So I don't want to hear your bullshit about rank. I was a corporal, E4 Army was the highest rank I obtained in the United States Army. It's like, yeah, it's not very high, but I mean that's a rank. Then whenever it comes right down to it, you work at McDonald's. I worked in the Army. I hold a rank. You want to hold a virtual rank, which means absolutely shit. So let's just sit here and play the game and let me reward you with what I can when I can. You know. So definitely don't, things to stay away from is probably the next thing I'm going to get into. It will be the next thing I get into. Things to stay away from. And I know I'm throwing a whole bunch of different scenarios at you, but that's really how kind of messed up the web is, because you got to think of all these different things while thinking of your central argument of, all right, I'm making a unit. Here's the problems. Here's the goods. Here's the bad. Here's what I need to do. And you're constantly bouncing these off of each other. So definitely look at that. But things you need to stay away from is promotions. If you have a slot-based rank system where they have to be able to be in that slot to get the rank, and you have a point system, stick with your points. I pride myself on having literally nothing but corporals except for in the SF. I have four sergeants. In Alpha Company, I have 0 sergeants, 0 platoon leaders, 0 any of them, because I'm like, no, they don't have the points, and I don't have a reason to get them yet. I have a certain map that I made, and I'm sticking to it. So definitely make your map and stick to it. People are like, oh, well, we need a squad leader. No, you don't. This is how I'm doing it, and this is what I'm doing. This is my cake. I'm gonna eat it. Leave me alone. You're just holding the candle, giving me light. I'm eating this cake. Leave it alone. Of course, those who know me know I use a different reference, but I don't think that's appropriate at the time. And I apologize for my children playing in the background. They're having fun doing kid stuff, and I'll be joining them right after this. But things to stay away from is promotion by rank. One thing that I hate hearing is, oh, if you join here, I'll make you a lieutenant. If you start promising rank right off the bat, you're already digging your hole. Your unit's going to probably fail. If you favoritism, oh yeah, this guy I went to high school with, this guy's my best friend, I'm going to give him a colonel. That's retarded. Your leaders should be people who know how to lead, not your best friends. I have no problem telling my friends, hey, you're a shitty leader. But most of them are pretty much the same mindset as me, so I don't have that problem. Pretty much good leaders. A couple of them a little bit shoddy, but we'll work with it. Anybody can learn. It's just ego. Ego has limited room, but no room whenever it comes to in-house stuff. Another thing you don't do is promise things, and if you like events and activities, and then don't fulfill. If you promise something, you better be there as a leader. If you're not there, you better have a damn good excuse. I try my best. If I say, hey, I'm going to be back, I try to make it back. Some of the guys know that I play a game, and then I'm like, hey, I'm going to go watch a movie, I'll be back. And they're like, no, you won't. And I probably won't, because I've already played with them, and it's time for family time, and they understand that. And I do dedicate a lot of time to the guys. I really care about the people, and that's one thing you have to, because as soon as you start looking at them as, well, I'm the commander and you're just a private, you're already wrong, man. This isn't the real military. They're not signing their life away. What they're going to do is give you the bird and say, fuck off, I'm leaving. And whenever they leave, all their friends are going to leave, and then their friends are going to leave, and you're going to have a big-ass problem on your hand. Another thing to stay away from is bad-mouthing. I've had it myself. Like I said at the first, I'm not saying any names because, it's pretty much hearsay is what I hear. But, I mean, it's kind of one of those, if you hear it enough, if your sources constantly keep telling you the same thing, then it has to have some tangible evidence behind it. It's saying names and talking trash about another unit or another person. I'm one of those, if you're a coward, fine. Just say, hey, I'm a coward, I'm a pussy, I'm just gonna sit in the corner and pout while you're making whatever the hell you want happen. Whenever we had shifted from a different unit in here, a lot of stuff came out. I had planned it from the start, and that's gonna happen. If you create your own unit, you're gonna have people come from other units that are literally gonna bring that bad JoJo to you. Not so much as you stemmed it from dropping out of a unit like we did. You know, Toes were stepped on. Basically, people were attached to certain individuals, and when they left, they were like, oh, well, this isn't fair, and I'm going to have a hissy fit. Which is all good and dandy. There's people out there to do that. I guess that role in society is fulfilled. But definitely watch out for that, and don't do it. If I talk about talking with another unit about one of their unit individuals or one of my guys, after that meeting, if their names have been brought up, I go bring them into my office and I say, hey, your name was brought up. Here's what we were talking about. Do you want to know more? And if they do, I tell them. If they don't, they say, but I don't like talking behind people's backs. That's complete, utter cowardice, and you're literally a less person for doing it. Likewise, talking shit about another unit. These guys are, bullshit. They don't do this. They don't do that. They're horrible. They're traitors for leaving, or they do this, or whatever. It doesn't really fucking matter. Not only are you fucking yourself over and your unit, but you're also boosting up that unit in a way. If it's true, it's true. But don't be the bigger man and just keep your damn mouth shut and say, all right, yeah. Keep your opinion to yourself. Like one of my good friends, Dabs, and you'll hear him on one of my videos. If you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. I think that's a universal code for every mom and grandma to tell the children and grandchildren. It's like the universal thing to do. At least that's my age. They probably don't do it now, but because and one of the scenarios that we're running into is all these rookies are coming to a unit, and these guys are talking so much shit about our unit, but yet the veterans are coming from that unit to here, and those rookies are sitting there looking at it like, well, you're talking shit about this unit, but yet all these veteran guys are leaving this one to go there. What the hell do they know that I don't know, and why the hell do I need to stay here? Is there a problem that I need to leave too? Maybe you're just talking shit to downgrade them, so I'll stay, but this is really a lot of questions, a lot of problems come up. So just keep bad-mouthing out of it. If you have nothing nice to say, shut the fuck up. It's that easy. Don't push the button. Push to talk is beautiful. If you're on TeamSpeak and you have voice activated, turn that shit off, push to talk. You don't have nothing nice to say, don't push the button. It's that easy. Because it's just going to make your unit look bad. Even though it might be true, it's still, you're talking behind people's back, and that's just a childish, cowardice thing to do. Things to do. Recognize those who do outstanding, who achieve, and who push that unit forward. Be open to ideas. I had a private, within 2 weeks, maybe less, come up to me, and he goes, hey, Skahan, I have this idea for a recon team, a 3-man recon team in a weapons squad, and yada yada yada. And he pitched it, and I was like, the first thing I thought was, this is a pretty good idea. Maybe I need to, I want to know more. And then I listened to it and I'm like, hey, I like this, I like this, I like this, I like this. But then again, I was like, well, if you're a recon team, you have 3 guns. We have an SF team that has 8 to 12. I'm like, more guns, more hands-on, more reliability, more survivability, less hands-on, smaller, easier to hide, but whenever in a sticky situation, you're limited. So I gave him the good and the bad, but I didn't shoot it down. I took it to the unit meeting and was like, here, this is their idea. I gave him the floor. He pitched the idea. Everyone's like, yeah, let's test it. And it ended up, basically going, it was good. It was a good, strong idea. It was competing against the same thing, just in a bigger form. Um, but you got to give that out there. You got to let the people have it. If it's something like, yeah, we want to bring the Air Force mod that's 2 GB in, it's like, no, man, no, we're not doing that. No, that's something you can shoot down, but you better have reasons why. I don't want this, we're not this, we're that. You know, you better have good reasons, a good argument, and you better have good counters to their argument. Well, they have good models and this and that works. Well, we don't need that. So, and that really leads me up into my next thing, that I would say would be a good thing is mods. Get mods that are for your unit. Marines, I hate to say it, but Marines are probably the most crippled units because you have to download so many mods. You got the LAV mod, you got the whatever it is, or LAV mod, or I just said the LAV, M something, the whatever it is, the other MRAP tank thing that they use, this amphibians. I'm not a Marine. Shit. And then you got to get Navy stuff, and then that brings in the F-18s, which is Air Force stuff that goes on the Navy ships, and then you get the Air Force, and it's just there. If someone took all the Marine stuff and went, here's one giant solid mod, here you go, boom, that'd be perfect. That don't happen. So keep your mods stable. Literally, my unit had a meeting last week. We went from 20 total unit mods, not required for the server mods, that required's 11, but we had unit mods, which is like weapons and stuff like that. Went from 20 to 16, and I'm still looking at them like, which ones do I want to cut out? Because it's driving me insane. Because I'm a mod Nazi. Literally, if there was one mod that did everything that I wanted, that's the only thing we would have. But some stability to your mod listing will make stability in your unit a little bit better. Stability in your planning and your scheduling, like our ops are every Saturday, our unit meetings are every Sunday. And then the rest of the week is basic training, public ops, maybe a couple unit ops in between, but we're pretty flexible on what everybody wants to do. And the members get to train. If they have something, because a lot of my members are prior service military or current military or going to be in the military, so they really like the trainings and stuff. So I really let them take over. So basically, I'm just watching, and I'm interacting and helping out too, and managing. But they're also they're having stakes, and what that causes is they're getting a piece of your unit, and they're making it theirs. They're transforming that unit and blending it into something that they're going to be attached to, that they're not going to want to fall. So that's something. Listen to your members, because your members are what make up a unit. To wrap this up, I mean, making a unit's relatively easy. Yeah, you're going to have the main parts. You're going to have a TeamSpeak. You're going to have a server, and you're going to have a map platform of some kind. Alive maps, they're pretty good. And having a reliable server. Like right now, our server constantly keeps crashing for some reason. So we're going to be looking at another one. So yeah, all you guys out there that are listening, if you got a server that let us know. I don't care. You can say, well, this unit, you should join our unit. We have a stable server. I don't give a flying rat's ass if your server is stable or not. If I have to, I'll take 4 of my computers and shove them together, weld them together, hook them together, and we'll make one big supercomputer, and I'll run it off them. I don't know. We'll figure out something, but I'm not worried about that issue at the moment because my guys are having fun. We're having fun, and that's the thing to do. Is if something's not broke, don't fix it. If something's broke, fix it. If people are having fun and, like ours, people are having fun on the server, but the server keeps crashing. So I need to figure out the server issue. Once that's done, there's probably going to be another problem that arises. But I don't have to fix it. And definitely be flexible on your maps. I'm telling you, if your pilot says, hey, I want this here, or I'd like this, do it. It's literally double click, change, save, import, turn on the server, done. And if they don't like it and they're like, oh, well, now it's, we don't like this, then it's too easy. Leaders serve the members in a community. We're here to have a service. And if you make your members also a part of that service, it kind of just rewards and rewards constantly. Because it's not only rewarding to you because your community is getting bigger and it's getting wholesome, but it rewards the members because they're taking a stake and they're having things that they want implied. Be that as it may, this next part's to you leaders out there. Care about your soldiers. Care about the people. Don't look at them as, oh, well, they're just privates and stuff. I get to know my guys. I get to know who they are and what their families are, where they live, what they want to do, what school they want to go to, what branch they want to do, what their future is. And you ask any of my guys that are 17, and I'm like, you better go to college or I'm going to smack the piss out of you. You join the military, that's fine, but you get out, you better use that GI Bill. I'll fly to Baltimore and knock you in the face. Um, I take a passion in my guys and in my community to make it better. And you're not going to make a community that's for everyone. You're not. It's straight up, you ain't gonna do it. You ain't gonna want to do it. A little bit of Kansas coming up. You ain't gonna do it. Period. You're gonna have a unit that's gonna piss somebody off. Chalk that one up to, okay, you go somewhere else. I would rather, like me and Goat were talking about, I'd rather have 10 people that I really like to play with and I can do whatever I want with and we all get along than have 100 people where I have no idea who they are. I have 30 plus guys in our unit now, and I know pretty much as I possibly can at this point about them. And it's pretty much just Q&As. I have some from Sweden, some from the UK, and, like one of my members is in the hospital, and, that took a toll. I was like, oh, man, it stopped me for a minute. I was like, wow, and I take concern. I care about my people. I don't really, and that's what I try to tell people. Whenever it comes right down to it, can you wipe the unit away? Can you wipe the ranks away? Can you wipe the positions away? And can you still function as a community? Because basically, if your unit is being held together by the structure, the rank, and the name, and what its component, then that's not going to be enough. There's got to be something tangible on the other side of that microphone. So you got to care. That's one of the things. You got to care. For all those leaders out there that completely are ass, that literally look and blame everyone else for their unit's failures and not themselves. If my unit fails, it's on me. If someone's not happy in the unit, that's on me. I take that as a personal responsibility. And if you're like, well, you're not happy because you fight with him, and you're like, you're not, if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the fucking problem. And a good leader, if someone says, hey, you're a shitty leader, give me an example. How? Well, you lie. Never have I lied to my guys. Oh, well, you've done this. Never have I done that. I put down facts in front of them. I've had my words twisted. I said, no, this is exactly what I said. I was like, and if we continue to have this problem, I'll just start recording everything. But we don't have those problems that often. So if you're constantly a leader and you're looking at your unit and it's falling apart and it's not the structure, it's not the unit itself, and it's not the command, it's probably you. And that's something that's like, you're either, I've seen units fall apart because people are too nice and people are complete pricks. And most of the time, these people are trying to run an Arma 3 unit that have never served in the military, or they are fanboys. They romanticize. And not saying that if you haven't been in the military, you can't do it. It's really easy. It's basic human nature to, you're a service. You're basically McDonald's. Serve. Fuck. You know, it's too easy to slap a patty on a piece of bread, give it to me. Call me a chicken, I don't care what it is, as long as it's good. You know, you're giving a service. You make bread, give it to the guys. They want some chili with their bread, make them some damn chili. Give it to them. You know. But if you're an ass and is one of those that's like, oh well, the military does this because my uncle's grandpa's son's mother-in-law's brother was in the Navy, and that's how they did it. Well, you know what? I've seen units that literally went book, text by text out of a book that was from the like 40s, and it's like, dude, you know, our shit has completely changed. You know, there's none of that shit anymore. It's this, you know. And I've seen units that are literally to the book strict. Oh well, this isn't Army, this isn't Marines, this isn't Navy. We can't use this, and it's like, dude, you can't use half the shit you're capable of. It's like, so don't, you gotta have that flexibility. Um, and if you're constantly getting reports from your underlings or your co-commands that they have a problem because of this, they have a problem because of that, and they're not coming to you. Like, an example was, I was an SF team commander. I had the rank of lieutenant. Basically, I was the top dog in the SF. I had guys from infantry and aviation come to me with their problems, and then I would go back to the company's commanders of them and say, here's the problems that were laid out for me. And they would literally, okay, well, how do we fix these and this? I'm like, you know, I give them my input, but in the end, did they implement it? Some did, some didn't. Did it work? Some did, some didn't. And I've also been in units where they don't care. That leader doesn't care, and it's like, why are you the fucking leader then? You know, stop having a power trip. So definitely don't get power to your head, because as soon as you do, or someone does, you need to neutralize that as a commander. Like if my first Sergeant Santos, and I'm putting him on blast because I can, and he knows I'm BSing with him. You know, if he decides he's going to be an egotistical maniac and go blitzkrieg on everybody, that's too easy. I'll go find someone who is better suited for the job. You know, hey, you're a shitty first sergeant. I'm gonna replace you with this because you can't do your job. People don't like you. You're too much of a complete prick. You need to learn how to do stuff. Likewise, people are, you know, like minds think alike. So anyway, I'm going to stop taking up most of your time. I'm going to wrap this up right now. If you're looking for help, definitely message me. Shoot me a comment. Shoot me a message. Look me up on Steam. Look our unit up. 3rd Battalion 501st IBCT 1st ID U.S. Army. We are on Steam. You can find us in the group section. Hit us up. I would be happy to, you know, our TeamSpeak info's in there. Jump in TeamSpeak. Be like, hey, I need to talk to Skahan because I'm trying to make a unit or something. Or if you're looking to get some help one-on-one wise with the game or anything, definitely hit us up, because we're always glad to help get people in and see our community at large build. Not just our unit community, the Arma 3 community and the gaming community. You know, so wrapping it up, I hope you guys loved this video. I hope it helped and clarified a lot. I kind of mixed in the unit and the leadership deal in there. So definitely, if you're one of those leaders that are too try hard and a complete pompous ass, you probably need to go find another day job. Maybe go to Sonic instead of trying to run an Arma 3 unit. If you already work at Sonic, I'm sorry, then you might want to go to Mickey D's or something. I'm not saying anything about fast food workers. I'm just making a joke. By the way, if you take offense to anything I say, I'm sorry. If you are a fast food worker, I'm sorry. But Koreans definitely make the best McDonald's cheeseburgers because I can order a Big Mac there and it looks like the picture, and here it just looks like people just threw it together. Um, Worker appreciation is food appreciation. If you don't appreciate your food, get a hold of it. Anyway, I love you guys. I'm back. I'm going to be putting out more videos. I hope you liked it. Punch that like button, kick the dislike button. I don't really care. Whatever. You know, every dislike I consider as a half like. So if I get 5 dislikes, that's 2.5 likes. So that's how I take it. Criticism is everything. Hit me up as for any questions. Hit me up on the comments. Let me know. Sub up. Stay tuned. I will have more Arma 3 classroom videos. I think the next one that I'm planning on doing is Special Operations. JTAC was a hit. A lot of people liked it. So I think that's where I'm going to keep going with this and kind of break down what Arma 3 is and how you can do it. And especially with this unit thing, because you know, there's not a lot out there. So if you liked it, let me know. If you want to know more, let me know. If you want to see me do a video over something that you're not quite 100% about, or you just want that out there, definitely let me know. I'd be happy to do it for you guys. Anyway, go out there, stay cool, stay classy, go forth and be badasses.